like 15, 20 minutes.
Sure, perfect.
All
Yeah.
right.
Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I'm your host, JP John Paz. With me today, former WWE superstar known as Top Dollar, former NFL player as well. He is Mr. AJ Francis. AJ, welcome to
How
the
you
two-man
doing,
power
bro?
trip. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So what's going on in your world? What have you been up to?
A lot, man. A lot of stuff I can't talk about yet. A lot of stuff that I'm working on that will become public, and when it does, people will remember that I was famous and doing a lot of things on television before I ever started wrestling. So I'm excited for what's coming up next. A lot of major plays in order, and also still wrestling. Big fan of that. Big fan of wrestling. I got Magic City Pro Wrestling down in Miami, Florida on April 30th that I am having a rematch of the Sausage Castle Wrestling title, a title that I held for 210 days before I got to WWE. Defended that title 20 times in 7 different states, brought it on 2 different national television shows. No big deal. I want to know who else is doing things like that on the indies. Have an opportunity to get that back, a title that is very near and dear to my heart. So, still wrestling, still with the Hitmakers, still doing a lot of cool things. We just had a great show at GCW at WrestleMania weekend. I did a moonsault. It really, broke the internet. So, it was a good time. And I'm really grateful for where I am right now.
It's funny. We were talking about a little off air. We were saying that people didn't realize you were a wrestler on the indie scene after the NFL, before WWE, because my buddy who I managed, Preston Quinn, you wrestled him in a great match in Virginia for PCW. People didn't even realize you were a wrestler on the indie scene. You knew your stuff.
Yeah, I never give the credit that I'm due about my wrestling experience. For some reason, people pretend that I don't know how to wrestle. I've never really understood that concept. I started. What happened was when I left the NFL. I literally left the NFL while still having job opportunities in the NFL to start wrestling. Um, the Raiders and the Browns both actually reached out to me after I decided to get into professional wrestling, and I turned down the offer because I just found something that I really love and enjoy doing is working a match in front of a crowd. Like there's no rush like that. I've been on tour and been on stage with guys like KRS-One and Wale and all these big time acts in music. And I played in front of, 10 million viewers on Thursday Night Football, Thanksgiving night against the Giants. And, I played in Dallas, stadium in front of the Cowboys fans and what is like a mall. There is nothing like performing a professional wrestling match in front of a live audience. It's a thrill and a rush that I can't duplicate. And I've done a lot of really cool things, like I just mentioned, and I can't duplicate it. So when I started wrestling, I realized that. And because of that, I knew I was going to eventually end up in WWE because anybody who plays in the NFL gets a tryout if they want one. So I knew that I would eventually end up in WWE. So I wanted to actually hone my craft before I got there. And that's how I ended up at PCW wrestling against Preston Quinn. We had a banger. I did a drop kick.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. That match was a lot of fun. Got the dub as well. Crowd on their feet at the end of it. What more can you ask for?
Yep. He called it too. He said he's going to get called up for a tryout. He's definitely going to be in NXT pretty soon. He was right. He nailed it.
Yeah,
So
he was, and it's because that guy knows how to do the job. He knows how to do the business. You know what I'm saying?
very true. And it's funny with you, just outside of wrestling and really just outside the NFL, you became, like you mentioned to me before, like all these crazy posters here, all my Hulk Hogan stuff and,
Yeah,
Bret Hart and all these other old school guys. You became almost like the poster child for old school WB collectibles because
yeah,
of the Most Wanted Treasure show on the A&E.
absolutely. And to be honest with you, it's a blessing, but it's also a curse because I get the random DMs on social media of people sending me pictures of a poster that they have from 1982 that isn't signed and is probably worth about realistically $25 on a fair marketplace, and because it's not signed and it's just a poster, and people are like, how much money do you think I can get for this? And I'm like, do you want a real answer or do you want the answer that'll make you feel better about yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that because of that show and all that stuff, like that your knowledge has increased just on all that stuff, or is it
Oh,
just
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, I really, to be honest with you, like, I know the ins and outs of wrestling history, but like the value of memorabilia and how much something costs and what a fair price is for something, depending on who the person is and all that, I learned all that on the job. I My first day there, I literally didn't know how much I should bid on an item, and I asked the production team. Right. By 2 weeks into filming, I was just doing the bidding myself because I understood the value. You know what I'm saying? It didn't take me long to catch on, but like at first, honestly, I had no idea what some things were worth. Like to me, and it also always depends on the person because you got guys like me, like, yeah, Ric Flair robe is worth $100,000, right? Okay,
right?
I agree with that. But to me, the elbow pad The Rock threw in the crowd when he beat John Cena at WrestleMania, to me, that should be worth more. But that's just because I love The Rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? So everybody's individual value of something is different as well. So it's a real crazy marketplace.
Was it awesome getting to hang out with Undertaker and guys like that and like pick their brain, not only for memorabilia stuff, but just for your own wrestling knowledge?
Absolutely. I mean, everything you saw with Hit Row, I had already been doing on the Indies. Like I said, when we got together, on the Indies, I was doing it with my crew called The Row. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see The Row at PCW because it's hard to get, 5 music artists and wrestlers to West Virginia for an independent show. So it was just me. But, I was already doing it at my home promotion, Sausage Castle Wrestling, SCW, in Florida. So like I was already running through ideas of what things for that, and then I was literally on the road with these legends like Taker, like Kane, like showing them how I did it on the Indies and how I planned to. At the time, it was just me, Tahuti, and Brianna in what we called the Hitmakers, which we are back to now, the Hitmakers. Before the show debuted, and Triple H decided that he wanted to add Swerve to the crew, and then we obviously became Hit Row. So like it wasn't until like we did all these different things with the Hitmakers and everything I did with the Row and the Indies. I had all that footage, and I was literally on the road with these guys, like showing them, Mick Foley and Mark Henry and Booker T, and just running ideas by them. Like, what do you think about this? You ever seen anything like this? Da, da, da. And they all loved it. That's how I really knew that I was on to something. You know what I'm saying? And then we ended up adding Swerve to the crew after that. And Swerve is, indie darling and a long-term veteran in the business and has a built-in fan base himself. So, like, it just made it that much even bigger. You know what I'm saying? Just, so it was really cool what we were able to do. And it was even cooler that I was able to run all these ideas that I had by these legends.
It's pretty awesome, like to be on that show, but not really be known in WWE. But as soon as you're in WWE, everyone knows you from that show. You know what I mean? Because that show had grew in popularity and memorabilia and collectibles.
I feel like Hit Row was one of the most unique, if not the most unique, factions of all time. Like I think that we did some amazing things that nobody else could do, like the championship cipher that we did. Like no other faction in the history of WWE or any other program could do what we did there. You know what I'm saying? Like that was one of one. But like people come up to me and talk to me about Most Wanted Treasures. Like they're like, oh yeah, I loved what you guys did with Hit Row, but hey man, what was it like hanging out with Undertaker, man? It was crazy.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So, like Most Wanted Treasures is more over than Hit Row, for sure. I would agree.
It's weird. Like the collectible market, it just skyrocketed. Even since the pandemic, it's been bigger and bigger. I mean, the collectible market is just crazy right now. And I think that show was like perfect timing for it. You know what I mean?
And not only just perfect timing for it, but it also was like a good show. Like it wasn't like if it was a bad show, but it was about finding Undertaker's, mask and Paul Bear's urn, wrestling fans will still watch. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was a bad show. But like the fact that the show was actually entertaining and put together well, and to be honest with you, like they only maybe used like 10% of the footage that we use. I mean, I'm like I literally would be in the car with Undertaker interviewing him for like 2 hours, and they would use 45 seconds of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's more stuff there that could be used if they want to use that footage. But I'm sure they're going to want to do new people for the next couple seasons.
Right, right. Just so cool, like just the idea and like just in actuality, like, but this is awesome. It's such a cool idea. How did they pick you? Like, did you try out for it? Like, how did you get that role?
Honestly, it's a good thing about same thing with WWE, same thing with anywhere in the world. It's who you know. I went to high school with a guy named Tommy Williamson, who's a very good friend of mine, and he's an actor in Hollywood. He's been on The Fosters and many other projects as well. He's a good brother, and he was talking to Kate, who is she was an associate producer of the show, and the pandemic had just started, and they're looking for a host for the show, and they can't bring people in to interview them, or you know what I'm saying, like they just gotta pick somebody, and then they're coming up with ideas like who can be the host, who can be the host, and they just happen to be talking one night, and she talks about this new show she's doing with WWE, and he's like, "Yo, you should check out my boy. He just signed with WWE." He's hosted television shows for 10 years already. Because I did. Like, that was another big thing a lot of wrestling fans didn't know. Like, they thought I got the gig because I came from the NFL. Well, actually, I got the gig because I had experience hosting television shows for a decade at that point. By the time they started, I was hosting TV shows and doing analyst work on CBS and NBC, and even going far as back as like University of Maryland closed circuit TV. You know what I'm saying? Like a decade ago. So like when she checked out my social media, Kate checked out my social media, she loved me. And so she pitched me to the production team, and they pitched me to the network. And WWE actually didn't want me to get the gig. They actually were actively trying to not have me be the host because I hadn't been on TV yet. You know what I'm saying? But the network and the production team was like, "Nah, we want him. He's good." And clearly, I showed that I was worth my weight. So it was a good call by them. And it was, the good thing about that show is that like I feel as if like what I was able to get out of those superstars in those moments, as well as being able to relate to the fans because I've been one my whole life. I feel like that's hard to replicate, and that's why I feel like my usage on the show was so paramount to the success of I'll say the watchability of the show for sure.
Yeah, it connected well with all the guys. You knew your stuff. Even when you didn't know stuff, you'd ask them, and they'd figure it out. And like you guys worked together.
Yeah,
It was
and
a
I'm also not, and
good
that's the
team.
thing about me is that like I'm not one of these guys that like I think I know a lot, and I do know a lot, and I've proven it time and time again. But if I don't know, I'm not gonna give you a bullshit opinion just because it's an opinion to be given. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna actually actively ask, and that's what separates me from a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. But I just love the connection you have with the wrestlers too, because they see you, and you're not a small guy by any means, and they know you're a former NFL player, and you're a trained wrestler. So I mean, the respect factor is there.
Yeah, and like I said, like I had already trained with the Undertaker, um, in at the PC at the time we started filming the show. And the coolest moment for me was when I came around the corner on the first day filming, and he knew who I was. Because I trained with him for a day before that. You know what I'm saying? Actually, 2 days before that. But like, there's 20 people in that class, and he's also the Undertaker. So if he doesn't remember me, I'm not shocked. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when I come around the corner the first day filming, and he goes, "Hey Jay, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, the Undertaker knows who I am." Right? So like that is the fandom aspect that I was able to bring on camera as well. You know what I'm saying? So that was I think related a lot to the people watching, and then for the superstars themselves, like I spent more time talking about football than I did wrestling with, all the guys that we filmed with because they were more like they've all wrestled. They're all Hall of Famers. They all had done WrestleMania. They've all done all the things in wrestling, but none of them played in the NFL. So like they want to talk to me about that, and which to me is funny because I played the NFL, and unless someone brings it up in casual conversation, I never bring it up. You know what I'm saying? It's because because I know what it does to people. As soon as people hear, like, when people stop me and they're like, "Do you play football?" And I'll be like, "Yeah," and they'll be like, "Oh, where'd you play?" And I'll be like, "University of Maryland," which isn't a lie. Okay, it's not a
Yep.
lie. But by saying that, it usually cuts the conversation shorter than if I say, "Oh, I played for the Dolphins, the Seahawks, and the now Commanders." Now, the conversation just got extended in 10 times, tenfold. Sorry. So, like, yeah, a lot of times the NFL is what people really love talking about.
Yeah, and it's like instant credibility and respect from WWE guys. Like, oh shit, this guy's from the NFL. Like, oh shit.
Yeah. It also helps that I show up big as a brick house. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, your size doesn't hurt. Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So just with WWE though and SmackDown, I know NXT and Hit Row was such a big success and it was super over. So you guys go to SmackDown. There's a few matches you guys had, and you had some vignettes. What happened there, like with SmackDown? How come it wasn't like a bigger production that wasn't more made out of Hit Row?
I honestly just think that they didn't have anything planned for us. I think that the draft happened at a time where they wanted to call people up from NXT, and that if you were watching NXT at that time and you were bringing anybody up to the main roster that was a main roster ready act, and you didn't bring up Hit Row, like, then what was the point of the draft? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they had to bring us up, and then when we got there, it was kind of like they didn't really have plans for us, and like, you can see that in multiple different ways. You can see that by how they released us. First of all, you can see that how they released Brianna from the crew before the rest of us. Like, to be honest with you, if you have Hit Row, and yeah, it's my brainchild, but like, everybody added things to it. So like, if you took me from Hit Row, but you still had Bree, you still had Swerve, you still had Tootie, it would still work. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you took Tahuti from Hit Row and it was just me, Swerve, and Brianna, it would still work. If you took Swerve from Hit Row and it was just me, Tahuti, and Brianna, it's what we're doing as the Hitmakers. It still works, right?
Yep.
But when you take Brianna out, we're just every 3-man group ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just wrestler guys. You know what I'm saying? She is the separating factor that makes us so different, because I tell this to her when we were at WrestleCon. From 30 feet away, people are going to see me and be like, "Look, I want to talk to him about WWE's most wanted treasures. Right? That's Top Dollar. I want to talk to him." You know what I'm saying? But from 100 feet away, they see that beautiful woman that's standing in front of the table, right? Yeah. And then when they get closer, they realize who it is, and that was like, "Oh, damn, I really need to go over there." You know what I'm saying? Brianna brings the eyes. Like, that's when she is on camera, there is nobody that looks like her. There is nobody that acts like her. There's nobody that can talk like her. She is special. That's why I tell her all the time. She be mad at me. I'd be like, "Look, when we do the Hitmakers, when we do these matches, you don't gotta bump. You don't gotta do nothing. You just come there looking as fly as you do, talk on the mic, being fly. Me and Tahuti will do all the bumping. You know what I'm saying? That's not what we need you for." She be like, "Man, shut up. I'm gonna get these bumps in. I need to win a title." I'm like, "All right, respect." You know, I ain't gonna stop you. You know what I'm saying? But that's what, like, so like, when they let her go, it was just like, wow. Like, we were still gonna carry on, but real rap, we was like, man, we ain't no different than anybody else now. You know what I'm saying? So like, and you can also see it in the fact that, like, we never had a consistent thing. Like, the first thing we did, we were against jobbers, right? We were against local talent, and they did a great job. Shout out them. And then this next week, we go do a backstage thing with the New Day, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna try to work you guys in with the New Day, do some cool things with New Day." And Xavier's pitching it. You know, Xavier's like, "Yeah, I wanna have you guys help me make my new song, and then we can, like, work an angle in there and all that," because he was changing his song because of the King of the Ring, right? So we're like, "Hell yeah, we're down to work with the New Day." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't we want to be working with the New Day, right? So then the week after that, it was like, "All right, you guys are going to do backstage and in front of the audience segment with Sami Zayn." We're like, "What happened to the stuff with the New Day?" Well, it doesn't matter. Sami Zayn is great. You know what I'm saying? We love working with Sami Zayn, and working with him was amazing, and he's one of the best to do it. And he helped me with so many ideas too for that segment. So like, shout out him. I loved what we did with him, and it was his idea, because, you know, when you come into the main roster, you're not trying to rub people the wrong way on the roster. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, I give a damn about some suits, but like the boys in the locker room, like I'm trying to make it cool with them. So like we got a promo segment with Sami Zayn, and my idea is to end it with Sammy sucks, right? To get the crowd to chant Sammy sucks. But I'm like, I don't want my first promo with Sami Zayn ended saying Sammy sucks. I don't want him to take that the wrong way, you know what I'm saying? So I take it out, right? And Sammy, being a consummate professional, when we put it all together, Sammy's like, I like why you ended it, but what if you ended it with Sammy sucks? And I was like, you know what? That's a great idea. you know, you're like, that's our shit. And I was like, that's a great idea, Sammy. You know what I'm saying? You are a genius. I appreciate you, right? So like, you know, we do that the next week after that. That was fun. And then the week after that, they're like, all right, now you're gonna do something with Jinder Mahal. I'm like, okay, all right. So there's no real direction here. Like, what are we doing? Like, okay, all right, whatever. You know, backstage segment. We knocked it out easily, one take. It was done. Great segment. You know what I'm saying? And then the next week after that, we got released. So we're like, okay, well, there was just nothing ever really down the line for us.
Wow. Just crazy. Like they give you a thought, they think you're headed in one direction, you go another, and then it's different the next week.
Yeah.
Very, very helter-skelter, the writing.
Yeah, I mean, when it's not really the writing. It's more like when you get up there, man, if you're not a top person that they have to account for, like we would have been, like we should have been, like we could have been, like they don't have plans for you. Like you come to television not knowing what you're gonna do. And yeah, sometimes, you know, even guys like the Usos or Roman, they get to TV and they don't know what they're gonna do until they get there. But like they got long-term plans that they know where things are going. If you're not one of those top guys, and deservedly so, like I say, Roman currently has the greatest WrestleMania track record of like big, high-profile main events like ever. Nobody wants to talk about that, but how many main events does Roman Reigns have in the WrestleMania?
6 or 7, yeah.
I mean, let's talk about it, right? So
only guy more than him is Hogan.
Thank you. That's rarefied air, right? So, like, yeah, he should know what the hell he's doing every week. You know what I'm saying? He deserves it. But if you're not a top guy, like, you come to TV with no idea what you're doing, or if you're being used at all. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you don't really know, and that's just their business model. That's how they like to operate. So like, if that's what they want to do, that's up to them. But like, I know for a fact that like, if we could have gotten all right, this is what we want to do, we would have had given them 10 million ideas. Like the promo that we did, the debut promo we did before we beat up the local talent in Kansas. Like, we wrote that promo in my living room at 2 a.m., like 2 weeks earlier, and sent the video to the writing team. Like, this is the promo we want to do as a hello promo. And that was exactly the promo that we did when we came out. Like, we did the same thing on NXT. We took care of ourselves. People want to say, man, Hit Row came off as authentic and real. It's because it was. It was us. It was nobody else but us. It was them telling us this is where the camera's going to be. But after that, it was us creating that entire thing. The look, the moves, the song, everything was us. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the catchphrases, all that, the promos, everything was us, man. So, like, I don't know how you can see that. And there's so many times where they say, man, we want people to go out and prove that they're undeniable. Well, we did. Like, we proved we were undeniable because no one can say that they help us create anything with Hit Row. And it was so over that it was the fastest call-up ever in the history of NXT, right? So, like, clearly we did what the hell we were supposed to be doing. So, for us to be released, it was like, yeah, they never had plans for us. That's the literal only answer.
Were you just absolutely shocked by the release? Were you floored by it?
I honestly wasn't shocked by our release after they released Brianna. Once they released Brianna, I was like, oh, okay, well, they don't know what they have here. Like, it's obvious. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got released too. And then a week or 2 weeks later, I think we got released. So, like, You know what I'm saying? Like I was after Brianna, I was not, after Brianna got released, I was not shocked about anything because it was like it's not just the fact that like it was explained to us like oh well there's four of you for one act, and we're like, why is it when there's other factions they're not seen as one act when they're put all throughout the show with different members? Why is it just the four rappers are just one act though? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
why is that the case? You know what I'm saying? Like, Brianna could work anybody in the women's division. Any of the three of us can work a tag match. Me and Swerve, me and Tahuti and Swerve. All three of us can work a 6-man tag. All of us can work an 8-man intergender. All three of the dudes can work singles matches. So how can we just be one act? You know what I'm saying? Like, that was what was lost on me. But it's not my call to make. And when they released Brianna, it was just the writing was on the wall to me. It was like, well, if Brianna is not important to them, then nobody is.
Yeah, true. So as we hit the wind down, we head towards the finish. Obviously, the release, obviously it was a mistake and all this other stuff. I mean, we talked about how maybe they didn't have the plans or the right forethought or whatever you want to say going forward. But what about the hit makers? What's next? What do you envision for them next?
We are currently in talks with a lot of different people. We just want to do what's right for us. We know what we bring to the table. We know that everybody saw Hit Row and nobody else can duplicate it, right? So it can't be remade. Swerve is off doing his own thing, and more power to him. I wish him all the best. I hope he, gets $20 billion. I really hope that he succeeds. But like I said, we were doing the Hitmakers, before Swerve was part of the crew and we became Hit Row. And I was doing I was doing the Row before I added Brianna and Tahuti to become the Hitmakers. So like the music record label faction idea that clearly was executed to a T is still here. And it's not going nowhere as long as I got air in my lungs, right? So like, but the thing is, we're not gonna sit here and pretend that we're gonna come out for a hot dog and a handshake. Like, if you want the best, you got to be ready to get the best. We feel like we don't feel like every show that we go to, whether it's NXT, SmackDown, GCW, MCW, it doesn't matter. By the time we leave the ring, the people are standing on their feet and clapping, right? So like, I would like to have that stand on the record versus anybody. I mean, let's keep it 100. So, you know what I'm saying? We can bring something special to anybody's table, and we're more than willing to eat, but we're not finna eat crumbs. That's just not how we're gonna do it.
Anywhere specific you want to work? Any you haven't worked yet that you'd like to work in the future?
When you say specific, yes and no. For example, we will all want to go to Japan. We all want to go to Mexico, but like New Japan, All Japan, either one works. You know what I'm saying? Like Mexico, obviously AAA would be awesome, but anywhere in Mexico works too. Like we are more than willing to go places and travel. And the thing is, like, all of us are doing things outside of wrestling. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's such a big deal when we come together, because when Brianna lives in Colombia and Tahuti is acting and doing a lot of stuff in Atlanta, and I'm obviously doing music and TV analyst work, and I'm actually in the process of making a documentary about my pro FIFA team. So like, I got a lot that I'm working on too. So if you want us to come and be a pillar of your show, we're more than willing to. But it's got to make sense. Like, it's just got to make sense. That's all.
Now, before we let you go, where can everybody find you and find what you're doing as far as social media and everything else?
Yeah, you can do it right here on this little tag right here. Hold on,
Yep.
There it is. At AJ Francis 410. It's all social media. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, video games, whatever. If you can type YouTube, if you can type in at AJ Francis 410, I promise you it's gonna come up. So you can check me out on all social media there. And yeah, be ready. I am excited to get an opportunity back at the Sausage Castle Wrestling Championship. a title that, like I said, I took on national television multiple times. I am ready to show people that only saw me as the bigger guy in Hit Row because they didn't know any better, realize what's really at play here. And I'm excited for that.
And hey, the hidden treasures, the most wanted treasures, very rewatchable. So you were great on there as well. So
Very
yeah.
rewatchable. And I'm still under contract, so we got to talk about that too. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
contract, still under contract. That's a completely different contract. I thought it was dumb. I said, why you make me sign a different contract to do you should just be added to my WWE money. They was like, no, we need a different contract. Well, now thankfully I have one. So I have.
wow! Didn't realize. Should have mentioned that. I just figured it was so tied in together. Oh, so you could do season 2 technically.
I mean, I'm planning on doing it. Ain't nobody called me and told me that my contract is being paid out. So I'm planning on doing season 2 and season 3. But like I said, business is business. We got to figure that out.
That's a great, great damn show. I love it and would love seeing you on it. So hopefully, A&E season 2 and 3 of WWE's Most Wanted Treasures. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, appreciate you.
Thank you, AJ. Thank you for all the time. Appreciate it.
No problem, brother.